Okay, screw it, child. Let's learn.
This episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream.
Yep.
If you've ever seen a pigeon walk, you might have wondered what's going on with all the head bobbing. Are they broken? And they do a lot of it, up to 8 times a second. So fast, in fact, that it wasn't until the 1960s that they realized that this forward and backwards motion was an illusion. It's not a bob, it's a thrust and stop. You can see it if you slow it down.
Thrust
The head
masters.
goes first and then stays absolutely still while the body moves forward to join it. And it turns out they're not broken at all. This movement has to do with their vision. Here's one way to look at it. Let's say that you are casually perusing some random page on the internet. You wouldn't do this. Continuous scrolling? No, you can't focus on anything. It'd make you sick. That's why it's hard to go through an Instagram feed with someone else driving, for example. More likely, you would do something like this. Scroll and pause. And that's because the light receptors in our eyes need a moment to recover between images, or else it's all a blur. That's essentially what the pigeon is doing with its
Wait, that's
head.
really neat.
Now, we don't bob our heads like the pigeon do, but our eyes are constantly trying to keep the world still. Here, try and move your eye from that teal dot to the orange dot along the horizon line. Notice what your eyes are doing. They're jumping a bit, like this. You can try as hard as you like, but you can't move them smoothly. But you don't experience that motion as your eyes jump from one place to the next, because your eyes sort of shut down during those jumps. If you look at this image, you'll notice that your eyes seem to automatically move in the direction of the motion, which is a reflex designed to keep the image still. And these sorts of reflexes are found in almost all animals that have eyes, and are responsible for things like the gyroscopic head of a chicken, a murder chicken. Anyway, if you put a pigeon on a treadmill that's moving at the same speed that they're walking, they don't bob their head when they walk because their surroundings are still. And Pigeon on a Treadmill is the name of your next album. You're welcome. Now, if you spend any time watching
What's your
pigeons,
joke, man?
you might be wondering,
Okay, go ahead. What's your joke?
on a scale of 1 to a leg-humping chihuahua, just how horny are they? I'm sure you've seen it. A male pigeon does this head-bowing thing and
Knock,
waddles
knock.
up
Who's
to a
there?
female with his tail all fanned out. It can look a bit pushy, to be honest, and a lot of these gestures are the same as a male would use to be aggressive. But in this case, it's more like a dance. Jerry, these are wood pigeons. I don't care if it's cheaper, Jerry. It's the wrong species. How much cheaper? Oh, well, let's hope they don't notice. He bows, and then she might peck at the ground a bit. Naughty. And seeing
Milady.
that, he might turn a circle or two and rush towards her and then stop and preen for a moment. And it's exciting, gets the hormones flowing. And at this point, he might go in for a little peck. Not a kiss, like an actual peck. And that might lead to beaking, which is when you know it's getting real. So she puts her beak inside his beak, and he pukes up a little food for her to eat. I mean, we've all done it. No? Now, of course, reeling from the glorious taste of his vomit, she might squat down, signaling she's up for it. And then it's just a matter of getting your tail feathers out the way.
Who got
Of
that
course,
good
if
D?
you're out on the street watching, most of the time it doesn't seem to go that well for the male.
This is educational, guys.
And you might think the whole pigeon scene is a bunch of bachelors getting rejected all day. But here's the thing. First off, pigeons will often mate for life, which means a lot of these pigeons probably know each other, and it's more of a, no, Steve, I don't know what has 2 thumbs and wants to get laid. And I told you the joke doesn't work, you don't have thumbs. God. And these displays aren't always just about leading up to mating either. Couples will often do these displays to reconnect, and it can actually be quite adorable.
That's
Wings
nice.
all wrapped around each other. And they do a little version of this dance when it's time to pick a location for the nest. All right, so we should probably have a chat about pigeon nests.
Yeah.
Look at this. I type in pigeons, and I can find a whole episode on the pigeons of New York City. There's people who raise them on the
Guys, go to CuriosityStream. Or, use this, yes?
estimate the economy of the Star Wars galaxy, including the GDP.
Go to curiositystream.com/zfrank.
And you'll be supporting a sponsor of this ride. Now, pigeon nests get a bit of a bad rap. I mean, it's true that some of them look like the pigeons read the instructions after a bottle of tequila and then woke up vaguely remembering that it had something to do with sticks. I mean, come on, that looks like the end of Act 2 in The Three Little Pigs. But before you judge,
bad.
you should ask what the purpose of that nest is anyway. These sorts of pigeons are essentially domesticated rock doves, and rock doves are cliff dwellers.
Hey,
And in
King JH, thanks for the 83 months, bro.
those little cliff hidey holes, the main thing is to make sure your egg don't roll away. They don't have to build some sturdy stick bowl to make it stay in a tree. Although, side note, you don't need a nest in a
so
tree
cute.
either. It turns out the white tern turns out an egg right into the armpit of a tree branch. No sticks at all, so by comparison, a pigeon is a regular Frank Lloyd Wright of nest building. And even if it is a single
Look at
stick,
that
don't you
ugly
worry about
fucking
it. It's gonna be
nest.
comfy. Mom and Dad are on it, literally. They take turns sitting on that nest and almost never leave it unattended. They take it serious. I mean, you can see they don't even always make it to the
Oh, okay.
outhouse. I know it's not explicitly written in most parenting books, but I do think the norm is to put some distance between the crib and where you shit. No judgment. Anyway, this goes on for a while.
Cute.
Look at the babies.
Oh,
Adorable.
babies.
If you've never seen a pigeon baby before, it's because they stay in the nest for up to a month after they hatch.
Baby.
And by then, when they can fly away, they look all grown up. And there it is. That's the life of a pigeon.
Wow.
Do a little dance, make a little love, get down, or a stick, for the nest. Rinse and repeat. And you might wonder if maybe there's not
Get
that
down
much
tonight.
going on in those little noggins. And of course, that's why they put one in a box with a banana. See if the pigeon could work that out. I know the temptation here is to feel superior, like, come on, I could do that. But listen, have you ever been in a box with a banana? Might be kind of overwhelming. Going through the life choices you made that led you to that moment, and depending on how ripe the banana is, it might stink in there. I mean, it's enough to make this pigeon forget it can fly, But it eventually has the wherewithal to use the little stool when it gets a bit peckish. And once you show a science hippie you can do something like that, forget about it.
Genius.
They're testing you on everything. They wanted to understand courtship better and set up a whole video dating scenario. And it worked. The pigeons saw each other on the screen and started doing, the moves. But then the science
Online dating for pigeons.
hippies put a delay in the feed. So he's like, what's your name? And she says, nothing. And he says, do you come here often? Nancy. And he's like, oh, is Nancy a name? And she's like, no, it's my first time. And the whole thing gets screwed up. But now they know that there's some back and forth going on. And you might be thinking, well, what are they looking for? What makes a bird attractive? So just like on Tinder, you can show a pigeon photos and see which one elicits a courtship response. And you can manipulate those images to accentuate certain traits. Maybe
Yes.
make the eyes bigger or that. I mean, if you have Photoshop open, you might as well go for it. Anyway, it turned out that the eyes didn't matter so much, but they did like a nice-sized beak. But here's the thing, though. It didn't matter where it was. You could swap the beak and the eye, and they'd still be into it. What's crazy is this has
Damn, they're a freak, like for real.
support from an experiment in the 80s. These baby chickens who'd never seen anything before had to choose between a stuffed bird and a stuffed bird that was all jumbled up. Remember, this is the 80s. Everyone's on cocaine. This is what science was back then. Anyway, the chicks didn't mind the jumbling as long as there was an intact face. Like this one was on par with a normal bird, but this one was just a bit too much. And you might be thinking, if pigeons can get into a bird with a beak where its eyes should be, it's probably not so visually sophisticated. All right, so let me ask you, which one of these is a picture of breast cancer?
Left.
You don't know, but you can train a pigeon to tell you.
Oh.
Turns out they have sensitivity to patterns and visual relationships that's on some AI level shit. And they're doing it with images they haven't seen before at an 85 to 90% level of accuracy.
Wow.
And that's not all. Pigeons can make children cry with science. Some pigeons were trained to discern good children's art from bad children's art, which apparently had to do with how realistic the drawings were. Again, the pigeons did a great job.
Hey, that's
sparing
awesome.
parents the cost of sending their kids to art school. You could have pigeon guidance counselors. Check this one out. You can teach a pigeon a bunch of words, some of them real words like bust, and some of them nonsense words like varn. Now the pigeon gets a treat if it pecks on a word that's real, or the star shape if it's a made-up word. Now you start mixing in new words that the pigeon's never seen before, both nonsense and real. And you know what? The pigeon's able to tell which ones are real and which ones aren't. It picked up patterns on what makes a word real. You can't bullshit a pigeon.
That's pretty fucking cool, though. What the tuna?
And I'll tell you, if you want to invest in a company that makes peck-proof screens, because the science hippies seem to use them quite a bit. Here they got pigeons pecking color patterns in
I think
order.
I read that they use pigeons at like what is that called in English? You know, tiny little metal balls that in ball bearings. They had pigeons sit at the conveyor belt because they would spot imperfections in some of the ball bearings, and they would like signal if one is like not perfect.
For peanuts or whatever they eat. And then patterns made out of shapes. What is that, a book? A windmill? Oh, and the words peck me. Someone was having fun in the lab. And here they are remembering patterns even after the shapes get covered up. I mean, the bottom line is they have some pretty sophisticated visual cognitive abilities. Read not dum-dums. I mean, their brain is about the size of a walnut, but it's jam-packed with neurons. More than twice the density of our brain.
Maybe
But it
I'm
has
just
to
lying, I don't
process a
know.
lot of information. They
Blink.
have two highly sensitive areas or
Hi, Eddie.
foveas in each eyeball compared to R1, and they have a field of vision that covers 340 degrees. Compare that with the 0 degrees covered by a dead pigeon. And you need those kind of peepers if you have falcons chasing your ass from all directions. And it helps with navigation, especially from above. You try telling a Walmart from an IKEA just based on the shape of the roof. Let alone finding the exact park bench where that crazy pigeon lady has strewn morsels of stale hot dog buns. But you can release some pigeons 40 miles away from home in a place they've never been, and they can find their way back
Right, and they can deliver messages.
before dinner. So how do they do that? One more recent theory is that they create little molecules in their eyes that interact with Earth's magnetic field. So they can kind of see Earth's magnetic field. And that works day or night. I mean, if they've got that, it's a little less impressive.
Oh, these are so pretty.
A big fly this way sign in the sky. May not take back
Yeah,
those
birds aren't
warnings.
real. Wake up, people.
It's bullshit. It's Varn. He don't puke in the mouth no more. He don't drag his tail on the floor.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
This pigeon love is gone. I think this pigeon love is over. Pigeon love, we're getting shit on from above.
Whoa, what a cool pigeon. What the fuck?
Pigeon love, we're getting shit on from above.
From above.
He don't puke in
That's why they are clearly spies made by the government. Have you ever seen a pigeon being born? I guess I haven't. I haven't seen most things being born, though. I've never seen a human being being born either. Are we all just robots, perhaps? There's a best of internet daily notes. There's the new unusual memes. This thing looks insane. Ah!